Hello guys, in this video we're going to talk about how to actually calculate percent of a number. So in our introductory video we talked about percent and mental math. We were doing lots of mental math by just adjusting our position of the decimal point. So the two concepts, two skills that we're going to be talking about today is using percent equation or using percent proportion. So percent equation is one of the ways to find percent of a number. And so we're going to multiply the whole quantity, so part of the number of the whole quantity, by multiplying the whole number by the percent written as a decimal. So yesterday I have asked you guys to do part of your work on the calculator, and your smartphones, and a lot of smartphones have that option. I don't know if you use calculator or the smartphone, but your smartphone will change your number into the percent by using that special percent symbol. So whatever was your number, if you were given some sort of percent amount and you click that button, it all of a sudden changed the decimal into, changed the percent into decimal, and then you found that part of the number that you were looking for. Okay? We cannot be using calculators in class, so how do we write this out? Again, your percent will need to be in the form of a decimal. So we've been practicing using quizzes and Kahoot as our practice options. So you do have a little bit of a reminder. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of highlight this box to get your attention to it. It talks about how to convert percent to a decimal. We will move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay. So let's take a look at a couple of these examples. Find 15% of 60. So 60 is the whole number. 15 is a part of it. So 60 times 15, that's going to be the equation that we're using. In your calculators, again, I wanted to see if you can notice that, that process is happening. But when you take 15 and use that percent button key on your calculator, it turns 15 into 1500s. It's a very nifty tool, but I don't really need for you to have that knowledge without the calculator. How would you do this without the calculator? So at this point, we would be multiplying these two numbers, and you're going to come up with 9. So 9 is 15% of 60. So don't forget, guys, we are going to see a variety of decimals in the next few days. Not going to be just 5, 10, 15, and 20. So again, find 36% of 80. So 80 is the whole number. 36%, so 36 hundredths. And then we will be multiplying these two numbers to come up with 28 and 8 tenths. Let's scroll down to question number 5. They're asking you, what is 44 and 8 tenths is what percent of 140? So this format that we are using in the very beginning of our equation setup has to be absolutely fixed format. We cannot rearrange the places or anything else. So it's really important to identify what specifically we're discussing. So in this question number 5, 44 is part of 140. Okay, this is just really an application of common sense. So 140 is your whole number. 44 and 8 tenths is the part. And then you are looking for percent. You do not know that value. So going back to our equation format, 140 is the whole number. We don't know what percent that is, but it gave us 44 and 8 tenths. Okay. And we have one-step equation. 140x equals 44 and 8/10. So we're dividing by 140 as we would to solve one-step equation. X is going to give us 32 hundredths, which I hope you guys realize at this point, 32 hundredths will be 32%. And these are just some examples of how to find percent of a number using percent equation. Let's flip to another side of your note and talk about percent proportion. So percent proportion is going to be utilizing our proportional format in relationships. So I'm just highlighting where you guys have seen these rules. So in percent proportion, one ratio compares part of the quantity to the whole quantity. The other side of the ratio shows the equivalent percent written as a fraction over 100. So let's set up our proportion format. So what we have happening is very, very specific format. So let's talk about this. Let's set this up. Let's convert this phrase into our little chart. So part, whole, percent out of 100. So this is the format that we are using. Hopefully you guys will remember that percent is percent per 100. Okay, so that's where it's coming from. That's where it's coming from. There are a couple of words that will help us through this process. So part, a lot of times the part of the number is associated with the word is. Percent of whole number.
Testing 1, 2, mic check.
We're going to work on a couple of examples that you guys see in your notes. So first one, 12 is what percent of 80? So as we're reading, we see, oh yes, 12 is part of 80. We need to find the percent. So just like we set it up earlier for our percent equation, is percent of 100. 12 is what percent? We're not sure. Of 80. And now we're ready to solve it. And when you guys know your proportions, you are, again, flexible to do and utilize whichever method you would like. I always recommend reducing it first. For example, 12 and 80 both divisible by 4. That gives you 3 over 20, x over 100, and we've seen that. So hopefully you see in this relationship, x is going to be equaling 15%. And when we have the proportion format, so in the percent proportion, your percent value already ready as a percent. With percent equation, we had to convert it into percent because our final answer was in a decimal format. All right, let's take a look at question 3, one other example. We have what is 70% of 150? Is percent of 100. So you guys notice that in your questions you're given two numbers. You have to fill out proportions that have 4 numbers. You are only given 2. Your third number is always 100. That's never given to you. And in a situation like this, if relationship is not obvious, don't forget you can always do cross products. And then we're solving it as equation by dividing by coefficient. We will continue with these notes in class during the Zoom lesson. So have this ready and have your questions line up as we practice with more scenarios.